Iodine. You know, that mineral we all think we've got covered thanks to the salt shaker, right? Well, according to the sources we're unpacking today, that might be a huge misunderstanding. So let's dive right into this fascinating story of what some researchers are calling a forgotten key to our health. All right, so here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to tackle this in 5 parts. First, we'll look at the shocking scale of iodine deficiency. Then, we'll uncover some surprising culprits in our environment. After that, we'll get into the big debate over dosage, expand our view way beyond the thyroid, and finally, we'll lay out the holistic solution these authors propose. So first things first, just how big of a problem are we talking about here? Well, the sources suggest it's way more widespread than you'd ever guess. I mean, just look at this number. It's absolutely staggering. According to the clinical research of Dr. David Brownstein, after testing over 6,000 of his patients, a whopping 96% are found to be deficient in iodine. That is not a small number, folks. It suggests a massive issue that's just hiding in plain sight. So that's the big question, right? If we basically solved the goiter problem a century ago with iodized salt, how on earth did we end up back here? Well, the answer, it turns out, has a lot to do with a group of hidden competitors in our modern world. And according to the sources we're looking at, the answer has everything to do with a group of chemicals that look and act a whole lot like iodine. It's creating this sort of hidden turf war inside our own bodies. And here they are, the halogens. The easiest way to think about them is like chemical siblings. See, they all sit in the same column on the periodic table, which means they're very similar. And that family resemblance, well, that's the real crux of the problem. And this table just lays it all out perfectly. Because bromine, chlorine, and fluoride are lighter and more reactive, they can essentially act like bullies. They shove their way to the front of the line and hog all the iodine receptors in your cells. And when that happens, your body simply can't grab and use the iodine it needs, even if you're eating it. So where are these competitors coming from? Well, the sources point to some everyday places. Take bromine. Since the 1980s, it's been used in a lot of commercial breads, taking the place of iodine, which used to be in there. Then there's fluoride, which, is often added to our water. And even perchlorate, a piece of rocket fuel, has found its way into groundwater and some of our food supply. Okay, so this whole situation naturally brings us to a huge point of contention, this deep disagreement over how much iodine we actually need to be healthy. Okay, get ready for this, because the difference here is just mind-blowing. In the US, the recommended daily allowance, the RDA, is just 150 micrograms. That's basically the bare minimum to prevent a goiter. But then, look at Japan. The average person there consumes over 13,000 micrograms a day, mostly from seaweed. That's nearly 100 times the US recommendation. So you have to ask, why on earth is our recommendation so incredibly low? Well, the sources trace it back to a fear they literally call iodophobia. It all kicked off back in 1948 with a study that suggested high doses could slow the thyroid down a bit. Now, the effect was temporary, and the study's been heavily criticized since, but that fear stuck. It created a culture that was scared of iodine, and that fear eventually led to it being removed from our bread in 1969. And this frustration, you can really feel it in this quote from Dr. Guy Abraham, who was a pioneer in iodine research. It just captures that sense of disbelief from people who think the medical world has completely overlooked how important higher doses of this mineral might be. All right, so let's zoom out a little for our next section, because according to these authors, iodine's got a much bigger resume than just thyroid support. Yeah, the really crucial idea here is something the authors call whole body sufficiency. The thinking goes like this. Sure, the RDA might be enough to stop your thyroid from getting a goiter, but what about the rest of your body? The authors argue that every gland, every muscle, every single cell needs iodine to work the way it's supposed to. And when you look at what it does, wow, its roles are all over the map. The sources say it's critical for apoptosis. That's the body's built-in program for clearing out old and healthy cells. Our immune cells need it to fight off bugs. It's also found in high concentrations in breast, prostate, and ovarian tissues. And it is absolutely essential for a baby's brain development. And this quote from Dr. Donald Miller really hammers home how big a deal this could be. He suggests that its role in fighting cancer might end up being its most important job outside of the thyroid. I mean, that's a powerful statement. So that brings us to the big finale. If there really is a widespread deficiency and our bodies need more than we thought, what's the solution these sources are putting on the table?
Now, the authors are super clear about this. It's not about just popping a high-dose iodine pill and calling it a day. No way. They insist that to do this safely and effectively, it has to be part of a bigger nutritional plan that includes some really specific partners to support your body along the way.
So here's the breakdown of what that protocol actually looks like. Step 1 is a supplement that has both forms of iodine and iodide, because different parts of your body prefer different types. Next, and this is a big one, is selenium. Your body needs selenium to make the antioxidant enzymes that protect your thyroid. Then they add in essential helpers like vitamin C and magnesium. And finally, lots of water and unrefined salt to help your body flush out all those toxic halogens that the iodine is kicking out. And if you want a perfect example of why those partners are non-negotiable, just look at this. One source points to research showing that just 200 micrograms of selenium a day was able to cut thyroid antibodies, a marker of autoimmune attack, by about 50% in just 3 months. That really shows you how these nutrients work together as a team. All right, so let's do a quick flyby of everything we've just unpacked. The sources we've looked at argue that iodine deficiency is a huge, unrecognized problem today, made worse by toxic halogen competitors in our world. They make a strong case that the RDA is way too low for total body health, and that iodine is a key player for literally every cell we have. And finally, if you're going to address it, they say a holistic approach with crucial cofactors like selenium is the only safe and effective way to go. And that really leaves us with one big final thought to chew on. The story of iodine, as these authors tell it, is about so much more than just one mineral. It's really a question of whether our health guidelines have kept pace with the realities of our modern world. It really makes you wonder, what other simple, fundamental keys to our health might we be missing?